Namaste and welcome viewers to another brand new episode of Mirror Prime. I'm Ashish Pareek, and usually on our show we talk about the road safety initiatives that are lacking in our country, how the government needs to do a lot to ensure that people who suffer road accidents are taken care of. There are 1.8 lakh road accidents in India every single year. Over 60,000 are just in the age between 18 and 34, and 30,000 people die just because they don't wear a helmet. These are stunning statistics that we look at and we say, why isn't the government doing enough? Now, Union Minister Nitin Gadkari has announced the nationwide rollout of the cashless treatment scheme. He says this will happen by March 2025. The government says that this is a significant move which aims at enhancing road safety and providing immediate support to accident victims. This initiative, this particular scheme, has already been tested on a pilot mode. It promises to cover the medical expenses of road accident victims up to 1.5 lakh rupees for a maximum of 7 days after the accident. The condition is that people who suffer these accidents will have to file a police complaint in the first 24 hours. This, the government says, will ensure timely care when it matters the most. However, as the government prepares to implement this ambitious program, which of course does sound great on paper, there are several challenges that also lie ahead. From integrating complex IT systems to ensuring public awareness to preventing fraud and ensuring efficient hospital coverage, a lot of problems exist on the path of implementation. These are some things that will have to be looked at by the government. We'll of course be discussing this. But will this initiative truly become a boon for road accident victims in India, or will it face hurdles that could impede its effectiveness? On the show today, we explore both the promising potential of this particular scheme and also the formidable obstacles that await its implementation. Joining us right now, Hormazd Sorabjee, editor of Autocar India, Dr. Vipin Tyagi, HOD and senior consultant of orthopedic trauma at the Yashoda Hospital and Research Center, Nehru Nagar, and Shailesh Sinha, the CEO of the Traffic People Foundation. Gentlemen, I appreciate you joining us on the broadcast. Before we start talking about this particular scheme, the pros, the cons, and the challenges that lie in the path of implementation, let's first listen in to what the Union Minister had to say.
जब एक्सीडेंट होता है तो हमने एक नई स्कीम शुरू की है, कैशलेस ट्रीटमेंट। और एक्सीडेंट होने के बाद तुरंत 24 घंटे के अंदर जैसे पुलिस में इंफॉर्मेशन जाएगी तो डॉक्टर जो होगा उसको, वो जो पेशेंट एडमिट होगा उसको 7 दिन तक ट्रीटमेंट का खर्चा या मैक्सिमम अप टू 1.5 लाख रुपए हम तुरंत देंगे उसकी ट्रीटमेंट के लिए। बाद में हीट एंड रन विक्टिम्स जो है उसमें भी मृत्यु होती है तो हम 2 लाख रुपए देंगे।
All right, so there you go. That was Gadkari there talking about how this particular scheme is going to benefit road accident victims. Now, let's go across to our guest, Hormazd. I'll begin with you now. We talk a lot about the safety features that cars offer, a lot of things that manufacturers do. But at the end of the day, when an accident occurs, the car has no role to play after the accident. A lot depends on the people around the accident site. A lot depends on the hospitals as well. And one of the problems is that a lot of hospitals are concerned. A lot of hospitals truly reject patients just because they're not able to pay money on time. Now, looking at this scheme, what's your first impression?
No, I think, honestly, what we have seen is that what is absolutely critical after an accident is what we call the golden hour. How fast a victim can reach a hospital and be treated as quickly as possible. So I think actually it's, principally, I don't know how it will be executed, but I think it's a fantastic thing Mr. Gadkari has done. And, I know I've spoken to him on several times, and the amount of road deaths really pains him. So I think this is really a terrific initiative. Again, I said, I don't know in terms of implementation, execution, what will cost, but, it's this whole golden hour. So, if there is a patient or the victim is attended to immediately, firstly is getting him to the hospital as quickly as possible, and then getting him admitted to the hospital as quickly, immediately, without all the paperwork and bureaucracy and payment and things like that. This could mean the difference between life and death.
Absolutely. Now, Shailesh, we've discussed in the past as well a lot about road accidents, and a lot of issues that crop up, a lot of lives that can be saved are lost because we do not really have the infrastructure. Now, Mr. Gadkari, of course, comes out and says that this is going to help the victim once the victim is admitted to the hospital. But a lot of people are going to turn around and say, what is the infrastructure in place to get this person to the hospital? Because we look at a lot of highways, we look at a lot of roads. The time it takes for an ambulance to come, the golden hour that Hormazd just spoke about, that is lost in this entire process. So yes, the scheme is good, it has good intention, but do we have the infrastructure to support it?
Absolutely. I mean, what you're saying is right, and I really appreciate the way my previous debater said that the question is about implementation, execution, and whether we are at the place where these things can be implemented, right? But my point here it comes again is what are we doing in the pre part of it? What we are talking is post. Why can't we work on the system where these things doesn't happen? I mean, 1.5 lakh or maybe insurance claims, what you're saying would be given, but the point is, why are we not working on the things where we can stop these things happening on the road? That is my prime point, and that has to be the prime point from the ministry point of view also. And second, yes, it might give some kind of encouragement to the hospital also, that yes, we would be paid the amount if we are treating an emergency
Shailesh, once
patient,
again,
right?
so sorry to interrupt you. I'll just ask my team to play out. We also have some graphics of the announcements that have been made by the Union Minister to enhance road safety. It's not just about what happens after an accident. There have been some new features and new things also that have been announced by the Union Minister. We'll play that out on the screens, and you can continue.
The driver, yeah. The driver part, I read about the driver part also, that if he's feeling dizzy, there'll be some machine which will be telling that person that stop the car, right? Because 30,000 accidents happens because of overexposure in terms of my energy when it comes to road driving. So because unskilled drivers are there, I read and heard everything, but still my point comes back to the point that why can't we actually work on the ground rather than just, because my inhibition here is that MSMEs and SMEs are also some big boon to the entrepreneurs, to the startup people, but practically these things are not implemented the way it is projected. So it should not be in a way that next MSME is happening.
Absolutely.
Like in the road cases, road accident scenario. This is what my point is. Yeah.
Absolutely, absolutely. Shailesh will, of course, discuss more on that as well. Let me go across to Dr. Vipin Tyagi. Dr. Vipin, now I think,
Yeah.
the last mile delivery of this particular scheme will not be possible without your support. I mean, the hospital's support, and hospitals have a very key role to play in this. Now, let's talk about the role of the hospitals here. Now, the problem is, as soon as there is a government scheme, the first response of the hospitals would be, yes, sarkari kaam hai, ye bahut delay hoga. So, are there chances that the hospitals could turn away victims because this is a government scheme? You're not sure how long it will take to reimburse the money. You are not sure if the systems, the IT systems and everything are going to be in place. Because remember, this is a country where even your private insurance, 50% are either partially rejected or fully rejected. So while we have such issues with private entities, how reliable is a government system? Hospitals will have a doubt. So how difficult is it going to be to get hospitals on board?
Ashish ji, number one, we are discussing not prevention, we are discussing on the treatment. So as the previous speaker said, the prevention, definitely it is
Right.
old saying, prevention is better than treatment in everything. All part of life, it is all prevention is better. But here we have to discuss about the treatment. So I would like, because I am dealing it for last 42 years, and I have seen when there was only no Maruti, there was no car accident. Only we had the patient fall from the tree, fall from this with the simple fractures. Now we have a amazing injuries. All bones are fractures. Patient come to the hospital in very bad shape. So I'll tell you, I will not go long for on these things. But the accidents are now, highways are there. A lot of accidents are there. So first thing I'll tell you, the ambulance. I'll tell you how this can be taken care. First, the ambulance should reach in time. Like in the developed country, they take 2 to 3 minutes. There are some, air ambulances also. Here we are also having some air ambulance now in some hospitals. Number two, the attending person in the ambulance should be trained. I tell you, they are written that they are trained, but should be trained for the first aid, like to put the splint on the patient, put the IV drip, so that, and patient should be taken to a hospital, to designated hospital, which is competent enough to take care of the patient. Because I have seen in my own practice, that patient dies because they are kept in a hospital where the facilities are not available. Their patient was taken because of reason known to the either ambulance driver, or they did not know which hospital is good or bad. I'm not saying bad hospital, but doesn't have the facilities. So patient dies. I have seen myself in my 42 years of career. So hospitals should be designated, and these designated hospitals should also be audited for their past, how they were giving the treatment to these patients, and what is the audit now. If the patient is reaching at 6 o'clock, what they did in golden hour is 7 till 7 o'clock. They should be audited for that also. And if they are not doing good job, they should be punished also. So then only the care will be taken off. People, my first speaker said the golden hour. I say it now as a platinum half an hour. That is most important thing, because many patients, and how to carry the patient for accident side, many injuries they increase when you are taking the patient from the accident side to the ambulance. So they should be all trained persons in the ambulance at least. Otherwise, in our country, most of the time the passerbys, they take the patient. That is, we cannot, afford to have ambulance in time. It is there. But I am sure now, I am not pro this government, but since this government is there, I have not seen, we deal with the Ayushman also, I have not seen any delay in the Ayushman payment. And I'm 100% sure when Nitin Gadkari has delivered very nice highways and everything, this scheme implemented by him will be also very good. And we have welcome being attached to this facility. Giving first aid, this tertiary care in a hospital with a lot of polytrauma patients, So this scheme will also be very fruitful in future.
All right.
And I'm welcoming
Also,
this. Really.
we are talking about all the stakeholders being involved here, Doctor. And Hormazd, I really want to ask you this because we see a lot of features being introduced by a lot of manufacturers. Now, at the end of the day, for this scheme to be successful, not just is it about dispersing money to the hospital. It's also about ensuring that the patient reaches the hospital on time. And one of the stakeholders responsible here is also the auto manufacturer. Now, a lot of features are introduced by car manufacturers. Is there any sort of a tie-up between ambulance services and manufacturers? For example, if there's an accident, there are warning signs that are sent out. We've seen in the past as well multiple applications that also send out a message to emergency services. Are there any such applications in place, any tie-ups that the manufacturers have done so that if there is any accident, at least the ambulance arrives on time?
So I think you've got, the latest cars with advanced connectivity. You have multiple things. One is they all now have an SOS button which sends a signal to a call center, which figures out now either you can do it yourself, or now the cars are so advanced that if it senses a strong impact, which is, in a certain level of G-force, which can only be measured if it's on a certain impact, it will, kind of give that level of G-force or deceleration. So, the car has met with a strong impact, or if it's rolled over. So there are multiple ways to sense that the car has been in an accident, and that can automatically send an SOS to the, let's say the call center of the manufacturer. So a lot of manufacturers have this. I think Hyundai, Kia, they've got their own systems, Blue Link or whatever, where you can immediately, an SOS can be sent. So I think technology-wise also this plays into this, this whole process of trying to get the victim as quickly to attention to the hospital as quickly as possible, or to get medical aid, which, as I said, right, can be the difference between life and death. Sometimes, it's just minutes that make the difference.
Absolutely. Shailesh, the other important aspect that comes into the picture is about the public awareness. How does the government should go about it? Because at the end of the day, you look at a lot of people don't even know the numbers for dialing an ambulance or calling the police. So that's going to be a major issue, public awareness. And also at the same time, the other concern that I believe the first thing that comes to your mind is a lot of fraud claims that we've seen in multiple such schemes that have been rolled out as well. So how does the government go about ensuring that people who genuinely require this particular scheme, who are going to benefit, are the ones who actually get the benefit?
Absolutely. Your point is very, very valid that touts should not be benefiting out of this, thing, what is being implemented or what is being, put across for the people at mass level. My point is, yes, as you said, that this implementation has to be right. The communication has to be really loud and clear to the people that, yes, if at all you are suffering some kind of, accident kind of thing, so you should be assured that we are taking care of your insurance part, the amount what you said, the days what you said. You should be, particularly aware of what is the, policy which has been brought into the picture. Number one. Number two, the loud communication
But
through media.
Shaileshji,
Media
sorry
is
to
very
interrupt, but there's
strong.
one
People media is
concern.
very strong.
Usually most of the government websites that you look at, usually the websites are down. Usually the applications don't work.
It's
They
not
take
about
forever to
down. No,
work.
no,
So
no,
do you
no,
think
no.
that's
It's not
also a
down. No,
concern,
no.
the IT side of it?
It's not down. Normally the case is that people are, stopping themselves from using or connecting to the government. My point is, it has to be very easy process, right? First of all, it has to be easy process. It should be taught and communicated right to the people, to the masses, to the people at large. And number three, why are we working on the thing which we will be giving insurance? Why can't we work on this thing? Why we should not be stopping accidents? My point is straight and simple and would always be this, that yes, it's a man-made mistake and it can be corrected. Communication has to be there about insurance, but we should also be communicating very loud that please be alert, be wise, be respectable on the road, because a road is an accident is a disease which comes without telling you, and it's just a, fraction of second which changes the life of people. So we should be communicating highly on why and how we can stop ourselves and people at large that this is
Right,
dangerous,
right.
right? Golden hour, golden minute, emergency
Absolutely,
ambulances,
absolutely.
everything would work. But end of the day, my behavior would work on the road. The government's behavior would work on the road. We need to be very
Absolutely.
practical in these
Shailesh,
aspects.
I
Is
think
that
one by one we've been able to cover most of the concerns that anyone would have about the implementation of this particular scheme. And I think we cannot end the discussion without talking about a major concern that I think everyone today who probably first hears about this particular scheme has. Dr. Vipin, I really want to ask you, and I expect an honest answer from you. Do we
Sure,
have
sure.
the infrastructure? Like, for example, if there is an accident in an urban space, probably this
Yeah,
scheme would work well. But in a rural
yeah.
side where the hospital connectivity, the ambulance connectivity is not that great, there is
No,
going
no,
to be
I'll
a
tell you.
concern. Do we have the
I'll tell you.
infrastructure to ensure that this happens? And also one more point. Also, a lot of hospitals could look at this case and they would be like, all right, this is in connection to this particular scheme. It involves the government. We might get the claim back. We might get the reimbursement or not. So let's turn this case away. Hospitals
No,
could
no,
also do that as well. So how do we hold them accountable?
no. I don't agree with you in this case because you said urban and rural. In rural, there are now very good roads, and these patients can be taken up to the district hospitals, which are now good hospitals. I know my wife works there. I also have many patients. Those who come, at least there they can have a good first aid care, and from there they can be shifted to the other hospital, government hospital. In every district now we have, at least I'm talking about the UP. They have a good hospitals, and there they can be taken care of nicely in these cases. And otherwise, in urban, we have very good hospitals. Only thing, doctors has to be very honest and should take care of the patient like their own kith and kins. So that feeling has to be instilled in those every human being. And as the previous speaker said, Celeste said that. This is he is more insisting on the prevention. I am talking about the treatment part, which is this scheme is meant for. This scheme is meant for treatment, not for the prevention. Prevention is definitely very, very important. So that is the most important thing everywhere. But my only point to be
Dr. Vipin, do you
this is
think
I am insisting on
fraud
this point.
billing, overbilling, like we've seen with a lot of other health schemes, that is a concern in this scheme as well?
Definitely, and the people should be, because our mentality is, I will not say that we Indians are like that, but most of the time we want to make money minting things. So sometimes these patients also become like that. So they should not be like this. And whenever people find these things are happening, they should be punished. Punishment should be there, because punishment is not there, so people go away. I've seen Aishman. People are making very, very big amount of this bills, and they are getting money there. So that is not right. That is not right at all.
Absolutely, Dr. Vipin. Right, Dr. Vipin. All right. On that note, I think we've covered all the points, all the concerns that one would have about this particular scheme. Yes, it's a great scheme on paper. It has great potential, but it can only be implemented if all the stakeholders are on the same page. And of course, a lot of things, including infrastructure, is also put in place. Mr. Hormazd, Sorabjee and Shailesh Sinha and Dr. Vipin Tyagi, appreciate joining us on the broadcast for this very important discussion, and we only hope that this
Thank
turns
you.
out to be one of those schemes that actually makes a difference on ground. All right, viewers, on that note, it's a wrap on this edition of Mirror Prime. Lots more lined up on the other side. Stay tuned.